Hello, welcome. I'm sure by now you must have noticed how much narcissists seek attention. I've spoken recently about the stories, about the grand theatrical narratives that they weave, how they utilize the people in their circles to prop up these false narratives in which they play the hero or the heroine, and they paint a perception of themselves entirely untrue for their own, as well as to some extent our entertainment. They demand our attention when we want to spend time thinking about things that matter to us, when we want to do good things for other people. Maybe if we want to turn our energy and our attention inwards or upwards to higher things, the narcissist will demand that you place your attention on them instead. For they are entitled to it, are they not? Their grandiose perceptions of themselves, their God complex would say that they are. We know better. But have we not all looked at the narcissist? Have we not all been drawn in to look at the pageantry, to believe for a time in the play, in the story, and our place within it? Have we not been bewitched? Have we not enjoyed the bewitchment, even if for a short time? And as we came out of it, were we not astounded at how they had managed to capture our attention for the longest time and make us think there was something there that there wasn't? Make us think that there was future and potential there that never existed. How they are able to turn absolutely nothing into something that seemed like something, but which turned out to indeed be absolutely nothing. And oh, the pain of it. Oh, the disillusionment of it when we finally start to see. At first, it's really nothing but every emotion under the sun that one has no interest in feeling. Betrayal, rage, self-recrimination, deep, deep sadness, utter loathing, to name a few. And then at that point, we might separate ourselves from the narcissist because I know who you are now. So I'm going to go on my way. But let's be honest. Have not their techniques, have not their tendencies enthralled our minds enough that we still think on them? Even when it's painful? Sometimes we're trying to come to terms with all that's happened, and that's important. But still what remains, surely, is the recognition, if we're honest, that they had our attention, and they still do have our attention. Even if you're no contact, the mind turns back to the narcissist. There's something there, something confounding, something confusing, something demanding attention. And we fight it. And we try to heal. And you do. And you can. You are forever changed, but a narcissist is not the be-all and end-all. Yet still, one has to acknowledge they got your attention. And when you get past the emotion, which blinds us, it makes it so hard for us to see the truth, or even any semblance of the truth. But once you manage to step somewhat away from the emotion, which is energy in motion, and things settle, it doesn't have to be all the way, just a bit, then you can really pay attention. So at first it's like a compulsion. They dragged our attention, they drew our attention, they forced our attention to them. And if we didn't comply, we'd regret it. They would punish us, give us a silent treatment. You know the tactics if you've been in that position. So there was that forceful grabbing of our attention. So forceful. More forceful than anything's ever grabbed your attention before. So it felt like maybe this is worthy of my attention. And then you enter them in the dream and the fantasy. You enter with them into the theatrics and the pageantry, and you believe it for a time. But then something doesn't fit, something doesn't feel right, something, you know what I mean. And the unraveling and the pulling away begins. You go, no, I don't know why and I don't know how, but no, this isn't right, something's off, something's wrong. My body is screaming and I don't know what it means. But something's off, something's wrong. And your journey begins, your journey to come back to yourself. You start to pay attention to what's happening, not have your attention taken, stolen, drawn, forcibly pulled from you. You start to pay attention. You start to direct your attention, focus your attention, have your will over your attention, rather than relinquish your attention to someone else who wants to point it where they want it pointed to, what they want you to see, not what is necessary for you to see. It struck me at a point how forceful this thing was that I was noticing. Why is the narcissist so needful of attention? And we know why. We know all about the grandiosity. We know about the stories. No, I was asking at a higher level. I was asking, what is this pattern being exhibited, embodied in this person? An energetic pattern that says, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. That's what I wanted to know. That's what I wanted to know. What is this? Because nothing is isolated. Nothing is just its own thing by itself. Everything is an expression of something else. Things begin in the subtler realms, and they trickle down and materialize here in perceptible reality. Why was I presented in my reality with something that was saying, to me, look at me, pay attention to me. And it was doing so with such overwhelming power, more than anything else. Because when you're in a place of emotion, energy in motion, all the pain and the rage and the disappointment and the frustration and everything, then you can only emote in response to that answer. But when you can slow down the emoting, then the answer stops being emotion. It starts being logic, it starts being rational. It starts having more and deeper meaning. We are in a time where there is a war for our attention. Media, distractions, propaganda, this side, that side, us against them, this religion, that religion, right, wrong. And in the midst of all of this, another thing, vying for my attention, even more powerfully than any of the things that I had named prior. And I know I'm not alone. So many of us have experienced this, but do we understand? Do we see what it's trying to say to us? It's saying, look here. And our first response is, how dare this thing distract us? Because, yeah, it is a distraction, a big, fat, painful distraction. But that's only until you wake up. While you're sunk in the mud with the narcissist, it's a struggle. It's a struggle in chaos. They take you into their world and make you wrestle with them and look at them. But as soon as you bring your head above water, bring your head above that tar pit, breathe the free air outside, and get a little perspective, then you see that the instinct was right, the call was true, but what to focus on, that's what you couldn't see. We were rightly called to pay attention. Look this way, look here, see this thing, see this pattern. But the invitation was never to stop there. It was to stand up out of the mud and look at it from a higher vantage point. Like being in a movie theater, being enthralled by the picture on the screen, not able to look away. The romance, the tragedy. You're practically in it, with it, living it. Watching it play out, believing the rules of the story. Utterly taken. But then you start to notice that the story just keeps going on, and you feel like it's kind of getting repetitious, and you can kind of predict what's going to happen, and you start to come out of it a little bit. And you're like, wait, what's happening here? This doesn't feel as convincing as it used to. And eventually you realize, wait a second, this is not what I thought it was. This is not entertaining me. I'm not enjoying this. This is just a loop. This is just going round and round. I was meant for more than sitting here in a chair, staring at something that stopped being funny, that stopped convincing me that it has anything new to show me. This is where we've been. And all through the anguish, it's been saying, look at me, pay attention here. And it was just waiting for for us to calm ourselves into the stillness just a little bit, detach ourselves from the chaos just a little bit, so that we could be released somewhat from the emotion that is so blinding, and we could just have an impulse to turn around and realize there's a projector. I'm in a theater. This is a movie. And recognize the pattern. There's value here. The story brought you to the movie theater. The story made you look at it until you could see the deeper, predictable. And you could be so sure of what you see because you'd seen it and predicted it, to the point of getting bored of it and annoyed with it, to the point of being so self-aware, aware that there's got to be something better than this, something truer than this, something realer than this, that you turn around and realize this is all just a projection. This is all just made up fantasy. It's a play. And I was meant to see this so that I could learn to tell the difference. Tell the difference between a performance and what's real. Learn to see the patterns from the contrast. When my very own sense of dis-ease, my very own feelings of knowing myself to be so much more than this would snap me out of being entranced by something that could have never, ever compared to me and the realness of what I am. But I'd forgotten. You'd forgotten. We'd forgotten how to tell the difference. And our attention was forced, painfully forced in this direction to help us remember. Your attention was painfully forced to remember. And recognize that for what it is. You're one that's meant to see, meant to hear, meant to pay attention, not to the play, not to the theatrics, not to the pageantry, not to see it and just brush it off, but to see it and realize its deeper meaning, the patterns that it reveals about everything that we're experiencing here in this world, and the knowing from our own first-hand experience that we are not that, and it is not us. And to know that at the deepest, deepest level. If you resonated with today's message, consider liking, subscribing. I'll see you next time.